Welcome to the Business English Podcast, the best place for non-native professionals to learn how to communicate clearly and confidently. My name is Tanya Suarez, and in each episode, you're going to learn specific skills to develop your corporate communication, American pronunciation, and career strategy in order to build the life you deserve. Let's jump right in to part 1. Interviewing for the top tech companies is humbling, to say the least. Honestly, it is the most intense thing I've ever seen, and it requires equally as intense, or rather intensive, job interview training. The best thing you can do, especially for the behavioral interview part, but really even for the technical or even the intro call, is prepare, and then prepare some more. Now, how you prepare can make a really big impact. Now, it's incredibly time consuming because of the requirements. And if you've gone through to any of these interviews, you know that the panel interview or the third round usually is incredibly long and they require a lot. And they also usually don't like you repeating your stories. So this does not mean it's impossible. Whenever you feel really extra overwhelmed, remember that all the people that already work there went through this. So you can do it too. Now, when you're preparing, back to the best practices tip, the best thing I recommend for you and what I do with my clients is don't write it and then practice it. And by it, I mean the STAR format for the behavioral questions. The risk that you run doing that, especially as a non-native speaker, is that your writing skills are usually a bit stronger or you have more time to think about it as you write. So you're not writing in natural sentences. You're writing in very correct sentences, complex sentences. It looks good on paper, but when it comes time to the interview, you become more, and I've seen this time and time again, people become more focused on trying to remember what they wrote and remembering the grammatical structure that they used and remembering that perfect word that they had for it, that you lose sight of the end goal, which is to deliver a clear story, to showcase your expertise, and to make your value very, very obvious. So my recommendation, so what I do when I'm coaching is I'll ask the question, I'll have my client tell me, just spontaneously without extra preparation, just tell me their response. I'll transcribe it, and then we'll go through and look at it and really flesh it out, make sure that the structure is clear. But what this does, and if you're doing this on your own, just record yourself. You can do voice to text on a Google Doc. You can just record yourself and then transcribe it. What it does is when you enter the editing phase, don't overcomplicate it. Really understand that the way you spoke it is very close to the structure that you're verbally comfortable with. So keep the sentences simple. And in fact, if you see that what you did was you kept saying and, so you never stopped your sentences, you just kept adding to them. When you're editing, be mindful of that. Take out those ands, make them separate sentences. In fact, put every sentence in a separate bullet point. Whatever it takes for you to be able to recall, not memorize because you want to recall, but you want to do it in a way that is genuine to the English that you use to speak. And that's really the key to this. So that when the time comes for you to actually be in the interview, what I want you to do is recall the story. I want you to recall the situation, the task, the action, the response, the connection. I want you to focus more on showing them what your experience taught you, how that's going to make you a valuable candidate and great for this position, not being completely consumed by worrying if your pronunciation was correct because that's a new word that you decided to use here. By the way, a job interview is not the time to use new vocabulary. Use words that you're familiar with. Save the new stuff for later. Okay, so the biggest takeaway from not only the session that I had recently, but every time I do behavioral interview questions is keep it simple. Use your natural English, the natural speaking English, which is different than your written English. So don't write it first, say it first, transcribe it, edit it, and then practice. A great way to get more English speaking practice is to start your own podcast. Spotify for Podcasters makes it so easy to record, edit, and distribute your podcast right from your phone or computer. So no matter what your setup is like or how much experience you have or don't have, you can start creating today. Not only is it simple, it's totally free. I decided to start my podcast with Spotify, and it's helped me reach hundreds of thousands of people. So download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to spotify.com/podcasters to get started. For more business English resources like articles, videos, courses, and one-to-one coaching with me, head over to TanyaSuarez.com.